I'm back, recovered. It's time to talk Las Vegas DJ show. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is a Sunday night industry chat night, and tonight I'm going to be talking about the show that we just had. We had the Las Vegas DJ show in the lovely city of Las Vegas. We were down there. It's the ADJA's conference, annual conference. They do it in September. This year it was held just before the Labor Day weekend, and a lot of you are out there enjoying everything that's out there to, as the last part of summer. But I wanted to bring you tonight my kind of overview of the Las Vegas DJ show, and we're going to be doing another video in just about another week or so, where we're going to be comparing, actually setting the three major shows side by side and comparing the good and the not so good of each show. So you guys who have been asking, which show would you go to? Why would you go to this show? Why would you go to this show? We're going to put all three shows on the same table, and we're going to compare them side by side, and we're only going to be doing the 2015 shows, because all three are done now for the year. We're talking Mobile Beat, the Las Vegas DJ show, and DJ Expo. We're going to be talking with a couple of people who have been to a couple of them this year. I've been to all three of them, so I'll be able to give some insight that they won't have, but we're going to compare and contrast all three shows, and that's going to be coming up here a little bit later in September. But tonight, it's the Las Vegas DJ show. It was held last Sunday night. They had some welcome parties, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Now, I wasn't there for the whole event. I'm going to just be upfront and honest with you. So there's going to be some things that others will experience that I did not. A second thing is that I don't do the evening parties because I've got things to do. So while everyone else was doing the evening party or going here, there, and everywhere, I was trying to get the video of the walk around of the exhibit hall. And if you haven't had a chance to check that out, I'll put a link in the description below to that video. But I walked around the exhibit hall early on Tuesday, and it took all day, and then it didn't work, and that little video is only about 1.5 gigs. For those of you who know the technical side of video, it's only about 1.5 gigs, but it took 5 different attempts to upload. So in my particular case, each time it would try to upload and try to go back and forth, it was eating up about 1 gig of my data because the hotel internet was sketchy in the room we were at. So it was eating my data. It didn't go. So what I ended up having to do is transfer it from my cell phone to put it in a Dropbox on my phone. My phone then uploaded it via the Dropbox to the things because it wouldn't go to YouTube. Our connection wasn't strong enough. Then from the Dropbox, I pulled it down to my laptop back in the hotel room and then put it back up to YouTube via the laptop. So that particular little thing you guys are seeing is about a $20 data usage for me. Yeah. Anyway, Las Vegas DJ show. We're going to look at a couple of different things. First off, the feeling amongst the attendees. Now, the show has always been really billed as the educational conference. They've had the most educational options of any show out there. And in the past, that's been a thing that I would completely agree with. This particular year, it had changed a little bit. Now, they've had to do some scaling down because of being at a different property and such. In the past, they've had, when you buy your show pass, you can choose from different options of seminars that were there for your pass. So your pass would get you into, I could do A or B, or at times A, B, or C. Plus, there was some paid content going on at the same time. So you might be able, wanting to take this session and go look at this one that came with your show pass, but you really wanted to go and do this paid presentation over here for 2 hours that's more in depth and really digs into the topic. You could do those types of things in the past. And you could also do it this year, but this year there was only the two options. You either were doing a paid one or you were doing a one with your show pass. So there weren't the multiple tracks with your show pass, which is a big difference. This is actually something that a lot of people who are supporters of the Las Vegas DJ show always used to use as kind of leverage against some of the other shows. Oh, you've only got one track, especially this year. And this is something we'll be talking about in that other show in mid-September, is Mobile Beat came out and they had one track and they were lambasted for it. I'll be very honest with you. They were talked down to because they only had one track and we've got multiple tracks. Well, this year it didn't happen that way, and it's really a kind of a thing that's because of the cost of the rooms and the speakers and all this all comes together. It just didn't work like it had in the past. So one track for those with their full passes. Now, that track that they had was very, very good, and people really were able to dig into a lot of topics and learn an awful lot because they had some very good presentations going on. So don't think that it was a weak track. It was a strong track. I sat in on a few seminars and had just some great ideas, because it's not so much of you're going and you're getting spoon-fed here, copy this and go take this and go out and do that. Really, it's a lot of things where you're going and they're sharing ideas, and that you have to basically take and implement and figure out how they will work for you. Now, a lot of you know we have the Disc Jockey News, and I also do some DJ, but I also have a couple of other businesses that are one in the sportsman industry, so we do talk about fishing and hunting and camping, and we also have one in the handyman world. Well, I'm sitting there, and I'm learning from Darnell when she's up on stage, and I'm thinking, oh, how can I apply this to not here, but here and here, or maybe all, and it's getting the brain working a little bit. Now, I know some of you don't like that. Not so much you don't like to get the brain working, but you like to have the seminars that are basically, here's how you do an introduction. First, you put this in, and then you do this, and then you do this, and it's basically the how-to. I mean, it's really the how-to, not the application. It's basically showing you what to do, so you can take that, you can copy it, and do it. For those of you that like that, this might not have been a great spot for you, because there were some of those, but not a ton. It's more of the application for the mid to upper level performers. So one track but it was a good track, but there was a ton of paid seminars going on, or at least it seemed like there were. There were always one or two or three seemed to be going on at the same time, maybe not three, but there were a couple of them going on quite often during the show, and there was some great content being shared there. It was going to cost you, I've heard $175, $175, $200. I'm not exactly sure. There could have been some $99 paid seminars. I didn't check into that and dig into it too terribly much, but there were many going on from some very competent trainers, and the people who attended those, of course, were just really happy with their investment of buying those. That was the educational side of it. The exhibit hall. Now, if you guys, again, check that link out in the description below, because that's the exhibit hall walk around. This was one of the smallest exhibit halls, probably short of what we do when we do things up here in Minneapolis, because we only have, half a dozen, and then this one had, I think, about 27 or 28 exhibitors in the hall. It was very, very thin. Some of our big industry names weren't there this year. There were some names that were there. Omez Lighting is coming on as one of the industry lighting companies, and they were there. There was Pioneer had a nice little, the in music brands with Newmark and Akai and Denon, they were there. Electro Voice was there. There were many companies that were kind of staples in our industry, or up-and-coming staples in our industry, that were there, but we were missing some large ones. And part of the reason why you're missing some of these large ones at these shows, gang, is that most of us, when we go to these shows, we're not buying as much as we used to. And it's not the fault of the show promoters. It's really kind of an indication of what's happening. When we go there, we maybe do some shopping and looking a little bit, and then we may go home and buy, or we may not even buy at all, which, of course, if you're not buying at all, that's one thing. But the number of guys who come there and basically do some window shopping there, and they're looking at these things, and then they go home and they buy it off Amazon because they can get it $10 cheaper. That's the kind of stuff that really hurts the manufacturers that are there to show, because they want to show, and then they want you to buy it from that dealer who's there repping them at the show, because then the dealer gets a better price on it that they can pass on to you at a better price, and it all works together to help pay for that booth, and paying for that booth helps pay for the show, and that's why it all works together. The show needs the money to get have the space for the speakers and everything together. When one of them starts to falter, it can get ugly really, really quick. Exhibit hall was much smaller than we'd like it to be. It would have been cool. We didn't see some of our advertisers with the Disc Jockey News. Some of them did not make the trip to the show, which is unfortunate, but it's also a sign, I'm afraid, of what DJ conventions are going to become. I've shared this on a few private Facebook groups and such, but I'm concerned that DJ conventions, as we've known them in the 2000s, early 2000s through the mid to latter 2000s, it's going to change, because people aren't buying gear at shows like we used to. We used to go there because they were the greatest deals. DJ Expo might be the exception. DJ Expo people are still going there, and it's a flea market. I mean, they're going in there with their checkbooks wide open. Here's my Visa card, keep swiping until it melts, kind of a thing. You're still getting that at DJ Expo. The Vegas shows are changing, and I think that change is going to eventually work its way back to DJ Expo, that I don't need to go to DJ Expo to see the latest in lighting, because I can go to, as an example, Blizzard Lighting. They were at the show. I can go to their website or their YouTube or Facebook page, and I can see video, and I can see people talking about their lights. I mean, we talk about a lot of the lights and different things at the different shows we go to. 10 years ago, we weren't going to NAMM to bring you the latest lights. We weren't going to Infocom or LDI. This year we'll be at LDI here in a few more weeks, and we're going to be bringing you some lights that you're going to find in 2016, and we're going to talk about them. We're going to show you those lights. Do you need to travel to go see these lights like you used to? Not so much anymore. It's a changing thing. You used to need to travel to a DJ convention to get educational content. You don't need to anymore. I mean, we've kind of adapted a little bit. We have more things online. This is an example. We have more things online than there were before. These things working together are really making it difficult for these shows to continue. Now, the networking side of it, that you and I sitting across a table from each other and chatting, or when we were at DJ Expo and we grabbed some guys together, we did a live show up in the room there for the DJ and TV crowd. That stuff you cannot replace online. Yes, Facebook groups are nice, but you can't replicate sitting across from each other. We're having a Pepsi and talking about the industry, or if nothing else, just getting to know each other a little bit more. That networking thing is what's really going to have to be, that sense of community, and creating that networking environment is going to be critical. And the show promoters, is going to become their job to figure out how to do it. And I think that's something you're going to be seeing some changes and evolution over the next couple of years in the industry. But anyway, let's get back to the show. Exhibit hall, nice size, or not great. It was just a nice little exhibit hall. There was a variety of different vendors there, and they were having great time enough time to sit down and talk with people, to answer questions. Volume-wise was much quieter than DJ Expo, even though there were speaker companies and different companies that had sound. They kept the volume under control a little bit more, so it was easier to talk, and there was kind of more of a quiet side, and there was a little bit more of a noisier side. And of course, the manufacturers that were there were just really being good neighbors when it came to the volume and such. So that helped tremendously. There was still noise, and it was still sometimes tough to talk in certain spots of the room. But overall, it was a much better experience for those who wanted to have some time with the vendors. At DJ Expo, you get thousands of DJs rolling through. It's really tough for you to sit down and talk and ask a question and say, hey, why is your product work so well for DJs? Well, at DJ Expo, if you watch some of my videos of it, we're yelling into microphones, really, really yelling into the microphones, because you had to be heard. So Expo hall, a little bit disappointed in the numbers, but overall it was a good experience for attendees, and I think it was a fairly good experience for the exhibitors also. Now, what I heard in the hallways. Now, this is the part that's not going to be as received as well by folks, because the hallway gossip at the shows. This is the stuff you guys won't hear when you're looking on Facebook. You're going to see all the it was great. We would love the experience, and people did. Don't get me wrong. They loved what they got. But the phrase that I heard from at least a dozen different people, and these are people who were unconnected to each other, because I was asking people. I'd run into them in an elevator. Hey, what do you think? Hey, what do you think? What do you think? The phrase that kept coming up was overpromise, underdeliver. And what were they referring to? Now, they were referring to different things. Some of them were referring to, because I, again, followed up. This is part of me reporting to you of what the show is going on. Some of them were referring to the educational content, that there should have been, all these speakers. I mean, I look at this postcard, actually, that I just opened up some ADJ lights. This is the postcard for the show that was going out in lighting and gear this summer. We got this full list of speakers, that were supposed to be there. A third of them maybe weren't there because they had to do some trimming and they had to do some changing of the schedule. And again, that's just more of an indication of the industry and the attendance of these shows than it really is a show promoter situation. The speakers were down. There weren't as many speakers. The evening parties, some of the parties and some of the things where the communication with that, the schedule said one thing and something else happened, or the schedule said something was going to be happening and nothing happened, or however, there's just some communication issues, and some of the guys were really kind of offended. There's, I believe, and now I might be, but this is what I heard from a couple of people, there's supposed to be a pool party going on. Again, I don't do evening parties. I've got my different things I need to do for you guys, but there's supposed to be a pool party going on, and it didn't happen, I guess. And there were some people who were there, and there was something. There's a follow up with drinks and times of free drinks for DJs who were attending the things, and these different parties that were supposed to be happening. The ones that did happen, I've seen pictures of it, and it looks like they had a great time and such. So it wasn't like everything was horrible in the evening. No, it was just there were just some little glitches here and there, and people felt that the show was worth it. And that was one of the questions my follow-up. They felt it was worth it, but we were promised this, and we set our expectations up for that, and it was under-delivered, so it was much lower than that. And overall, that tainted the experience for them. Didn't mean it wasn't worthwhile for them. It just meant that they were expecting the moon and they just were brought down to earth just a little bit. So other than that, the exhibit hall, many people made comment to, where are some of the big name manufacturers that weren't there that are typically at the shows? And they referred to the exhibit hall as the 5-minute walk, because you could walk through everything in 5 minutes and you were done. I think because of that, you saw many people who walked to the exhibit hall once, and it was a one and done. There were people that I did not see walk through the exhibit hall that I knew were at the show. Now, granted, I wasn't at the exhibit hall both days, all day. I was just there Tuesday. But generally, people walk through at least once the first day and maybe a second time the second day. There were lots of people that I did not see walk through the first day. They could have come through Wednesday. I wasn't there all day and such on Wednesdays to be in the exhibit hall. It's hard to say how that all panned out. From reports from some of the exhibitors, they liked Wednesday's results better than Tuesday's results. So I'm hoping that the Wednesday was something where people were in there and opening up the checkbooks, credit card, off we go. But there was a level of disappointment in the attendees because it wasn't a big exhibit hall like they were hoping for. Positives from the show. Michael Buffer was up on stage doing the first keynote Monday morning, and I've heard everyone who talked about it just really enjoyed what he shared with it. And if you've been watching on Facebook, you're going to see pictures of it, and there's people who were lambasting. Casey out of Chicago was emceeing that, and they're lambasting, what the image of that. Casey did a nice job with his interview and asked the questions and kind of guided things through, but it was a visual thing, and I don't want to go into it because Casey's a friend of mine, and he did his job and such with the interview and things. If he were to do it again, would he change? Yeah, he would definitely do that. It's one of those things we don't think about, but when you're in 100-degree heat in Las Vegas, that's you dress appropriately for that, and it just wasn't what he wanted it to be, but it was kind of an afterthought thing that, oh my gosh, I should have. Michael Buffer, though, people really enjoyed that. Now, the only thing I've heard negative about that is some people were talking about, okay, he's doing a keynote, but it's a question and answer time. A keynote would be more of a presentation where he would be talking about it. So there's some people who, we were promised a keynote, but we were given a Q&A time. Although there was good information in the Q&A time, it wasn't a keynote. Next morning, Darnell Jarvie, I believe it was, she was up on stage. We can show her, Jarvie. Darnell was up on stage, and she is kind of a business coach who is into coaching and sales and such. She was up there, and that one I actually got to sit through from beginning to end, and Darnell did a wonderful job. Once again, there's going to be people who are talking about, the seminars were just basically an infomercial, because she was doing I believe the next day was doing a seminar where she was doing the training for her program for sales and what have you. She's going to help people put together a package that they could use in their business when they're selling, so they could have the right package at the right time for the right people. See, I did pay attention. But Darnell was doing her thing, and there was some infomercial type things that were going on in that. She spent went on about 10 minutes later than the start time. First 10 minutes basically really trying to connect with the crowd and set her credibility up with the crowd. There was some teaching time. And in that teaching time, she was using a lot of examples of what she does in her business, so she could help these clients make lots of money. And then at the end, she talked about the packages and things she's going to be doing. So in that whole thing, there's maybe a half an hour of content time in that. And in that, if you weren't listening to find little nuggets, this is where I found some nuggets that would work for the Weekend Handyman and the Weekend Sportsman, even with the Disc Jockey News. If you weren't listening for the nuggets and kind of letting the other things just roll off, you probably were really disappointed with her presentation. I think most of the people there were grabbing onto the nuggets and were really excited, because once the presentation was over, they really rushed to the back of the room to sign up and fill her room that was doing the right package for the right people at the right time kind of presentation she was doing the next time. So many speakers were there. Randy Bartlett was doing things there. Mike Walter. There's just a lot of content there, and people were really excited about that. Mike Anderson did some things with projectors. Had a little bit of technical difficulty with that, which unfortunately happens. But his intro was really, really quite cool. And he got projectors on the stage, and he's scanning the audience to find I could have said something really kind of funky there, really, but it was a cool start. And I don't know if I got a video of that to show you guys as far as that I had put it up already or not. With the internet, it might not have even gone up, but anyway, it was pretty cool, and there were a lot of great things there. So overall, my grade for the Las Vegas DJ show, I'm going to probably give it like a C+. And that's basically because you've got a schedule that completely changed, and there were things that were promised, and that whole concept of overpromise and underdeliver really came through. Now that doesn't mean it was a bad show. It just means that I'm basing the grade on what we were talking about 2 and 3 months ago and what actually happened. The Planet Hollywood Hotel Casino is probably one of the best properties to have a DJ, or let me back up, I want to say it properly. Planet Hollywood is probably the best property that any DJ event has been at a national level. I'm talking between Atlantic City, Las Vegas, Chicago, Orlando, Atlanta, Minneapolis, all of our different venues that we're at. I think that the Planet Hollywood has got to be right up there or the top one. The exhibit area was right there. My morning would start out, I'm up in my room on the 19th floor, which is really like the 14th floor, and we'd jump in the elevator, down, we'd come out of the elevator, we'd walk around the corner, and we were there. A few more steps, there's the registration table, a few more steps, there was the seminar room, a few more steps, there is the exhibit hall. We back up past the registration table, a few more steps that way is where those little seminars were going on with the 20 to 25 people. Everything was within 100 steps of the elevators. Probably 100 steps would be the max you would go. Super, super convenient. They had Starbucks on the first level, so you could take the elevator down, grab your Starbucks, come back up to the second level, go to the meetings. They had food right outside the room. They had water in the back of the room. So for myself, I didn't need to go anywhere. When I got hungry, I went and grabbed a turkey wrap or chicken wrap, whatever it was. Yeah, it was $10 for that and a bottle of tea, but I could keep going. So I could grab something, and I was right back in there, and I didn't miss anything. It was really, really convenient. So the hotel, casino, they were good. Now, a lot of people loved it. I personally, the hotel room had a different situation with the hotel room, and I'll talk about that in a different video, because the rooms, I was really disappointed in the room, but that's not anything to do with the show. I think it's just where we were at, and I'll talk about that again in a different video. So again, overall grade for the Las Vegas DJ show this year, I think it's about a C+. There's some things that they could work on to improve, of course. I think there's a lot of great things that happened this year that they can build off, which is really kind of cool, because I think to a point after last year's show at the convention center, there was a little bit of a floundering feel because we were so far away from the hotel. It was such a long walk, and we were in this big room, and it was like we were the little speck in the corner of this big box. And the seminars and the exhibit areas over there were pretty nice in the convention center, but it just felt like it was just disconnected. This year, we felt a much better connection. You had breakfast with the Game Master right there. They go down the hall and registration there. Everything was just nice and close. I think once they figure out the evening parties and how this is all going to come together, and they figure out the ways to make that community, that sense of community, I think the Las Vegas DJ show has really got a winner that they're working on here for the future. So anyway, this is John Young with the Disc Jockey News. I just wanted to give you this little recap. If you like the recap, give it a thumbs up down below. I really appreciate that, because that kind of tells us that we're on the right track and you like this kind of information. If, of course, this is your first time of watching one of our videos, you can click the subscribe link. It's right over here on the side, right up here. I should have it right about there. Click the subscribe link, because that will help you to catch up on our videos whenever we got something new coming out. We have different videos coming out different days of the week, but that subscribe link right there is going to help you keep up on that. So you're going to get our DJ and TV shows. You're going to get all of our product videos that come up. You'll be able to see those right away, so you won't miss a thing. Once again, though, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. This is John Young with the Disc Jockey News and Disc Jockey News TV. Good night.